Have you ever wondered why, no matter how much you clean, your bathroom sometimes just refuses to smell fresh? I know, it's a bit awkward to admit, but you're not alone. I used to find myself in the same boat, feeling a little embarrassed every time a friend or family member stopped by and I caught that faint, lingering odor I couldn't seem to shake, no matter how hard I scrubbed or how many air fresheners I tried. It's one of those things we rarely talk about, isn't it? We all want our homes to be welcoming and dignified, but sometimes age sneaks in little surprises, like stiff knees that make bending down a challenge, or the simple fact that we've spent a lifetime picking up habits no one ever told us might be making things worse. I used to think my cleaning routine was spotless until I learned a few surprising truths that made all the difference. But here's the good news. Fixing this is so much easier than you think. No harsh chemicals, no judgment, and certainly no shame. Just a handful of small changes that can transform your bathroom into a space that feels truly fresh, clean, and comforting again. Wouldn't it be wonderful to welcome guests or family without a hint of worry? Or to simply enjoy your home with more confidence and ease? Let's uncover these gentle solutions together, because you deserve to live every day with comfort and peace of mind. Have you ever struggled with this, or found a trick that works? I'd love for you to share your story with me. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. Now, let's begin. 1. Ignoring the base of the toilet. Let's start with something almost nobody wants to talk about. Certainly not over morning coffee, and probably not even with your best friend. But if we're being honest, the base of the toilet is one of those places that quietly shapes how our whole bathroom feels, even if we rarely give it a second thought. I remember the first time I realized just how much that hidden little area matters. My daughter was visiting from out of town, and after a joyful, laughter-filled weekend, I walked her out to her car, hugged her tight, and came back inside feeling content. But as I wandered back into my bathroom, ready to tidy up and reclaim my quiet house, something caught my nose. A faint, sour odor I'd been ignoring for weeks. It wasn't strong, but it was there, stubborn and persistent, just beneath all the flowery candles and air sprays I'd been using. I found myself suddenly embarrassed, worried that she had noticed and been too polite to mention it. At first, I did what most of us do. I cleaned everything I could see. The sink sparkled, the bowl shone, and the towels were fresh from the laundry. Yet the smell lingered as if it had made itself at home. It felt like a small defeat, a reminder that even after all these years, there were things about life, and about housekeeping, that could still surprise me. One afternoon, determined to get to the bottom of it, I took a flashlight and knelt as best I could. My knees aren't what they used to be. I felt each creak and crack as I leaned in. That's when I finally really looked, at the base of the toilet. Dust bunnies clung to the grout, old hairs I hadn't noticed were curled in corners, and, most surprisingly, a faint yellowish ring circled where the porcelain met the floor. It dawned on me that every little drip and splash, over years of living with my husband, my sons, and even my grandkids, had quietly collected in this hidden space, slowly working its way into the grout and the edges where the floor meets the toilet. The doctors are right. When you think about all the years, all the shoes stepping around it, all the tiny droplets that go unseen, it's no wonder the smell can seem impossible to banish. If your bathroom has tile, especially old tile with deep grout lines, it's even worse. That porous material acts like a sponge, soaking up every accident, every stray splash, and holding on to that odor like a secret. For a long time, I felt frustrated with myself. Wasn't I careful? Didn't I clean enough? But the truth is, nobody teaches us to get down on our hands and knees after 60. It's almost funny when you think about it. Bending down becomes a small adventure, and getting back up can feel like a personal accomplishment. I started reading and listening to advice from other women who had spent decades caring for families and homes, and I realized I wasn't alone at all. Some had figured out little tricks, like using an old toothbrush to scrub around the bolts or a long-handled sponge meant for seniors. Others shared stories of grandchildren pointing out a smell, or husbands who'd never learned to aim as carefully as they should. We laughed together at the indignities of age, at the persistence of certain challenges, and at the way small things, like an overlooked ring at the base of the toilet, could remind us that we're always learning. With a little effort and a lot of humility, I started making this part of my Sunday routine. I invested in a soft knee pad, a gardening cushion does the trick, and a gentle enzyme-based cleaner recommended by my doctor. Enzyme cleaners are magical, by the way. They break down organic material, so they're perfect for tackling smells at the source. If getting down is too much, a long-handled scrubber with a soft head is a blessing. There's no shame in using tools that make life easier. I'd take a damp cloth, wipe the dust away, and then scrub gently around the base, paying special attention to the grout and the little gap where the toilet meets the floor. The first time I did it, I was almost shocked by what I picked up. The cloth came away yellowed and stained, proof that even when things look clean, they can be hiding a whole world just out of sight. Afterward, the change was remarkable. The bathroom felt lighter, and the crusher almost as if it was breathing again. I found myself less anxious when the company stopped by, no longer haunted by that subtle question. Does my home smell old? It wasn't just about the odor, though. There was something deeply satisfying about reclaiming this overlooked space. It reminded me that age isn't just about letting go. It's about finding new ways to keep living well. Taking care of my home, even in small, sometimes unglamorous ways, gave me back a sense of pride and control. The next time my daughter visited, I found myself smiling as she hugged me goodbye, confident that I was welcoming her into a home that reflected both my love and my dignity. So if you're like me, if your knees crack and you have to brace yourself to get down low, if you're tired of feeling embarrassed about a smell you can't quite place, let me tell you, it's never too late to change a habit, and you're never alone in your struggle. There are tools designed for us, and it's okay to ask for help or adapt your routine. Try using a long-handled sponge, or ask a family member to help once a month. If your bathroom has tile, consider sealing the grout every few years to prevent stains from setting in. Little by little, these changes add up. And if you're worried about dignity, about admitting that there are things you haven't mastered, even after a lifetime, please know that there is so much strength in caring. It's not about being perfect, but about finding solutions that fit your life today. You deserve a space that feels clean and safe, that welcomes you and everyone you love with warmth, and to worry. Sometimes, the smallest corners of our homes teach us the biggest lessons. That attention, patience, and a little humor can turn embarrassment into empowerment. Even when the world tries to tell us to sit down and rest, we can still rise to meet new challenges. Sometimes on our knees, flashlight in hand, ready to wipe away the past and make room for something fresh. If you ever catch that faint, persistent odor again, don't be discouraged. Remember, you're in good company, and you have everything you need to make a difference, one gentle, loving wipe at a time. 2. Using fabric mats around the toilet. Let's talk about something that might seem innocent at first glance, but has probably tripped up even the most diligent of homemakers. Those soft, fabric mats wrapped lovingly around the base of the toilet. Maybe yours is a soothing blue, matching your towels, or a cheerful floral print that brightens up the space. I can still remember when I picked out my first one, convinced that it made the whole bathroom look cozier, more inviting, somehow more put together. Who would have thought that such a small, fluffy detail could end up being the culprit behind so much frustration? If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. For years, I took pride in how my bathroom looked. I'd lay out the mats, fluff them after every wash, and smile when they came out warm from the dryer. Guests would comment on how soft and pretty everything looked, and I felt like I'd added that special touch that turned a house into a home. But over time, a problem began to creep in, quiet and persistent as a slow leak. I'd catch a whiff of something unpleasant when I bent down to pick up a dropped earring, change the toilet paper roll, or help one of my grandkids wash their hands. It was never overpowering, but it lingered, faintly sour, impossible to ignore once you noticed. Like many women, I tried to solve the issue the way I always had, with soap, hot water, and a healthy dose of determination. I'd toss the mats in the wash every couple of weeks, sometimes adding a splash of vinegar or a scoop of baking soda, hoping to banish whatever was causing the smell. For a little while, it seemed to work. The mats would come out smelling of fresh laundry and lavender. But before long, the odor would creep back in, as if the bathroom itself was refusing to let go of the past. It wasn't until I started reading up on the science, and swapping stories with friends who had been there, too, that I realized the real issue. Fabric mats, especially those thick, fluffy ones, are like sponges. They soak up not just water from wet feet, but every stray drop and splash that lands near the toilet. And in a house with husbands, sons, or grandsons, even the neatest among them, the reality is that little accidents happen all the time. Each tiny splash gets absorbed deep into the fibers, where it sits and breeds bacteria. Over time, no amount of surface washing can fully remove what's hiding within. I remember one afternoon, kneeling to pick up a magazine that had slipped behind the toilet. My hand brushed the edge of the mat, and suddenly, I caught the full force of that hidden odor, earthy, sour, unmistakably unpleasant. It was like the mat itself was waving a white flag, begging to be replaced. That was the moment it clicked. No amount of surface cleaning could erase what had already seeped deep into the heart of the mat. The next day, I rolled up all my old fabric mats and took a good, hard look at my bathroom. It felt a little bare at first, almost too exposed. The cold tile underfoot was a sharp contrast to the plush softness I had grown accustomed to, especially on chilly mornings. But then something wonderful happened. Within days, the air in my bathroom felt lighter. That faint, nagging odor was gone, replaced by a subtle freshness I hadn't realized I was missing. I started searching for alternatives, not quite ready to give up comfort for cleanliness. That's when I discovered machine-washable rubber-backed mats, the kind designed to sit in front of the sink or tub, but not wrap around the toilet. These mats were easy to toss in the washer, dried quickly, and most importantly, didn't soak up every drop and splash. When I wanted a little extra warmth, I slipped on a cozy pair of slippers, and suddenly those chilly tiles didn't bother me at all. My feet stayed warm, and my bathroom stayed fresh. Some of my friends were reluctant at first. "But I love how soft those mats feel," one confided over coffee. "I don't want my bathroom to look bare," I told her what I'd learned. The science, the stories, the quiet relief of walking into a room and breathing in nothing but clean air. Slowly, they started making changes, too. We laughed about it together, poking fun at how attached we'd grown to our bathroom decor, and how hard it was to let go of something as simple as a mat. What surprised me most was how quickly my attitude shifted. No longer did I dread having guests over, worried they might catch a whiff of something I couldn't quite eliminate. I felt proud again. Proud of a home that didn't just look nice but felt clean, truly clean, down to the air itself. Even my daughter noticed the difference the next time she came for a visit. She didn't say anything, but I saw the way she lingered in the bathroom, breathing easy, and smiling when she came out. If you're hesitant to part ways with your old mats, let me offer this gentle encouragement. Sometimes, the smallest changes have the biggest impact. It's not about giving up comfort or style, but about finding new ways to care for yourself and your home as your needs evolve. A simple switch to rubber-backed or washable mats, paired with a favorite pair of slippers, can make all the difference. Not only does your bathroom stay cleaner, but you regain peace of mind, the confidence that comes from knowing you've tackled a problem at its root. As we age, it's easy to fall into routines, to keep doing things the way we always have because they're familiar and comforting. But there's real strength in being willing to change, to listen to your body and your home, and to embrace new habits when the old ones no longer serve you. I see it as a small act of love, both for myself and for the people who share my space. So, if you've been struggling with a bathroom that just won't stay fresh, take a look at what's underfoot. Sometimes, the solution isn't another bottle of cleaner or a fancier air freshener. It's letting go of what's quietly holding on to the past and making room for something new. Your home will thank you, your guests will thank you, and best of all, you'll thank yourself every single day. 3. Flushing with the lid up. We all have habits so deeply ingrained that we barely notice them. Little routines passed down from our mothers, learned from childhood, or simply adopted over the decades because they seem to work well enough. Flushing the toilet is one of those habits. Automatic, thoughtless, a simple gesture repeated countless times in a lifetime. For as long as I can remember, I flushed with the lid up. My mother did it, my sisters did it, and I never once paused to wonder if there was a better way. After all, what harm could it possibly cause? It wasn't until a conversation with my friend Martha, over a cup of chamomile tea, that the topic even crossed my mind. She was recounting how her grandson had come home from college with all sorts of new ideas, reusable grocery bags, strange new recipes, and most oddly of all, a passionate speech about keeping the toilet lid down when flushing. He says it's more sanitary, she told me, her tone skeptical. It keeps germs from spreading. At first, I laughed. It sounded like just another of those modern worries, the kind you read about online and then promptly forget. But that night, curiosity got the better of me. I found myself searching for answers, wondering if maybe, just maybe, there was something to what Martha's grandson had said. That's when I stumbled upon the truth, plain and simple. Every time you flush the toilet with the lid up, a fine mist of water shoots into the air, carrying with it all the invisible particles from the bowl. It's called toilet plume, a phrase that sounds almost delicate but, in reality, is anything but. I was startled, and truthfully, a little grossed out. The idea that something I'd been doing for 70 years could have been quietly spreading germs and odors throughout my bathroom made me cringe. I thought of all the times I'd left my toothbrush out on the counter, my face towel hanging right next to the sink, my hand cream open and exposed. The very places I thought were safe and clean were suddenly revealed as vulnerable to a cloud of invisible particles every single time I flushed. That realization hit home in the most personal way. I've always prided myself on my cleanliness, on the little rituals that make a house feel like a sanctuary. I grew up in a time when good housekeeping was a point of pride, something you passed down from mother to daughter, a silent badge of honor. To learn that this one tiny habit could be undermining all my efforts felt unfair. I'll admit, I felt a twinge of embarrassment. How many times had guests used my bathroom, and my grandkids played on the bathroom floor, while I unknowingly let invisible germs float through the air? I remembered a conversation I'd had with my doctor years ago, after a bout of winter colds that swept through our house. He told me that sometimes the things we can't see are the ones that trip us up the most. It rang true now more than ever. Determined to make a change, I headed to the hardware store and picked out a sturdy new lid for the toilet. Nothing fancy, but it did the job. Installing it was easier than I expected, and I made a promise to myself right then and there. From now on, lid down, then flush every single time. At first, it was a challenge to remember. Decades of muscle memory meant my hand would reach for the lever without even thinking. I started leaving myself little reminders, a sticky note on the mirror, a cheerful sign above the toilet. Soon, though, it became second nature. And with each day, I noticed something remarkable. My bathroom felt fresher. The air was lighter, less stale. That faint, persistent odor I'd tried to mask with candles and sprays seemed to fade away. There was a ripple effect, too. I began storing my toothbrush in the medicine cabinet instead of out in the open. I swapped out my face towel more frequently, and I started reminding my family to do the same. When my grandkids came to visit, I gently explained the new rule, lid down before you flush. And they took to it with surprising enthusiasm. "We do that at school," my youngest granddaughter said, as if she'd been waiting for me to catch up. I even found myself sharing this newfound wisdom with friends at our weekly coffee mornings. Some were skeptical, just as I had been. Others confessed they'd never even thought about it. But a few weeks later, I'd hear back, "You know, my bathroom does smell fresher since I started keeping the lid down. There's a quiet satisfaction in passing on a simple, practical tip, one that truly makes a difference in daily life. What I love most about this little change is how empowering it feels. As we age, it's easy to believe that the world has moved on without us and that the latest science and the newest habits are for younger generations. But the truth is, we can still adapt. We can still learn. And sometimes, all it takes is one gentle shift in our daily routines to make life just a bit healthier and more pleasant. Of course, not every bathroom comes with a lid. For those, I recommend a quick trip to the hardware store. They're affordable, easy to install, and so worth the peace of mind. If getting down on your knees to make the change is a challenge, don't hesitate to ask a neighbor or family member for help. It's a small investment with big returns, not just for your health but for the comfort and confidence you feel in your own home. So, if you're like I was, flushing with the lid up out of habit, never pausing to think about the invisible aftermath, take this as your friendly nudge. There's no shame in changing, only wisdom in growing. You deserve a bathroom that's as fresh and welcoming as the rest of your home, and sometimes, the smallest adjustments have the greatest impact. The next time you reach for the flush, just take an extra moment. Lid down, then flush. Breathe easy, knowing you've claimed one more victory over the tiny, hidden challenges of daily life. Because even in these little details, you are caring for yourself, your family, and the sanctuary you call home. 4. Not cleaning the underside of the toilet seat and rim. It's funny how our minds play tricks on us, letting us believe that what we see is the whole story. I used to think my bathroom was a testament to my years of careful housekeeping. Sparkling white porcelain, a polished faucet, and a fresh hand towel always at the ready. But, as with so many things in life, the truth sometimes hides just out of sight, quietly waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. For most of my adult life, my cleaning routine was reliable and methodical. Scrub the bowl, wipe the top of the seat, and maybe, if I was feeling particularly ambitious, give the hinges a swipe. Then, it was on to the next task. I took pride in a home that looked neat, one that guests could enter without a second thought. But it's the things we can't see that so often catch us off guard. One afternoon, as the light slanted through the bathroom window and the house was unusually quiet, my granddaughter wandered in and offered to help me clean. She's a bright, curious soul, always eager to lend a hand and never afraid to ask questions. That day, she looked at the toilet seat with a frown, then, without hesitation, unclipped it from the hinges, revealing a world I hadn't paid attention to in years. I stood there, equal parts embarrassed and amazed, as she pointed to the yellowed streaks, the stubborn spots, and the rim where dust, moisture, and yes, bits of old urine had quietly taken up residence. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Suddenly, it all made sense. The faint odor that no amount of air freshener seemed to conquer, the subtle discomfort I felt whenever someone visited, the tiny shadow of doubt that lingered in the back of my mind. For the first time, I saw my bathroom through someone else's eyes. It wasn't a lack of care, but a simple oversight, the kind we're all prone to when the joints ache and getting down low requires more effort than it once did. I felt a wave of gratitude for my granddaughter's honesty and for the gentle way she showed me what I'd missed. Together, we gathered up our supplies: gloves, a bucket of warm water, baking soda, a splash of vinegar, and an old toothbrush, and got to work. She giggled as she scrubbed, the energy of youth meeting the patience of age. I couldn't help but laugh with her, even as I blushed at the state of things. There was something freeing about letting go of the need to be perfect, and instead just focusing on getting things truly clean, no matter how long it had been. As we wiped down the underside of the seat, the hinges, and every nook along the rim, the change was instant and dramatic. The bathroom felt brighter, lighter, almost as if it had exhaled a breath it had been holding for years. As I stood there, a little tired but also deeply satisfied, I realized that this wasn't just about keeping up appearances. It was about taking back ownership of my space, reclaiming the peace and comfort that comes from knowing I've done something right, even if it took me longer than I'd like to admit. Doctors say the underside of the toilet seat and the rim are some of the most overlooked places for bacteria and odor. It's easy to see why. We're taught to clean what's visible and to focus on what guests will see and judge. But life, especially after 60, teaches us that real beauty and true cleanliness often lives in the details, in the hidden corners, and the quiet acts of care that nobody but ourselves will ever notice. After that afternoon, I made a new promise to myself. Once a week, I'd set aside a little time for the invisible cleaning. I invested in a toilet seat that's easy to remove. Just a quick push of a button and it pops right off. I set a reminder on my phone, and I keep my cleaning supplies in a basket under the sink, always within reach. And if there are days when my hands are stiff or my energy is low, I give myself grace. Sometimes I ask my granddaughter for help, turning the chore into a moment of connection, a story to share over lemonade or tea. There's something so empowering about learning, even after all these years, that we can change our routines and do things better. Not because we failed, but because we're willing to grow. The first time I showed a friend how to remove the seat and clean the rim, she looked at me like I'd revealed a secret. "I never even thought of that," she exclaimed, relief and surprise mingling in her voice. We shared a laugh, a little embarrassed, a little proud, both of us realizing we'd spent decades missing something so simple. With each passing week, my bathroom feels more like the sanctuary I want it to be. There's no more hint of embarrassment when family visits, no more secret dread when friends drop by for coffee. Instead, I breathe easy, knowing that I've tackled a challenge many women my age face, and come out the other side with more confidence and, yes, a little more wisdom. So, if you're reading this and feeling even a twinge of recognition, know that you're not alone. Life is full of things we can't see, places we forget to look, and habits we form without ever questioning. But every day brings a new chance to make things better, cleaner, and more comfortable. The underside of the toilet seat and the rim may seem like small things, but the peace of mind they bring is anything but. You've spent a lifetime caring for others and for your home. You deserve a space that gives back, one that welcomes you with true freshness and quiet pride. And sometimes, all it takes is a little curiosity, a dash of courage, and a willingness to lift what's hidden and make it shine. 5. Incontinence products not disposed of properly. There are topics we tiptoe around, hoping that if we don't say them out loud, they'll somehow remain invisible. But life, especially as we age, has a way of nudging us toward honesty, gently at first, then with more persistence. Incontinence is one of those subjects. It's rarely spoken of at Sunday brunch or book club, but it weaves its way quietly into the routines of so many women I know, including myself. For the longest time, I viewed incontinence products as a sort of necessary nuisance, one of those unglamorous facts of life after a certain age. I remember feeling frustrated at first, resentful even as if a tiny piece of my independence had been taken from me. I'd try to hide the pads and liners in my shopping cart, tucking them under a box of cereal or behind a bouquet, hoping the cashier wouldn't notice. But over time, I realized I wasn't alone. Friends, sisters, neighbors, so many of us walk this path, quietly supporting each other with a kind word or a knowing glance. What we talk about even less, though, is how to manage the aftermath. Disposing of these products in a way that preserves not just cleanliness, but dignity. For years, I did what most people probably do. I tossed used pads into the small bathroom trash, wrapped in a little tissue if I remembered, and went about my day. Sometimes, if I was busy or distracted, I'd forget to empty the bin every day, and the faint but unmistakable odor would begin to creep in, an unwelcome reminder that life's little secrets don't always stay secret for long. One afternoon, my sister came to visit. She's always had a sharp nose for anything amiss, a gift and a curse, as we like to joke. We were catching up in the living room when she excused herself to use the bathroom. Minutes later, she emerged with a gentle suggestion. "You might want to check your trash bin," she said quietly, with a softness that spoke of understanding rather than judgment. Sometimes the smell gets trapped if the lid isn't tight. That night, I stood in my bathroom, feeling exposed by something so small yet so personal. The little white trash can I'd picked out for its decorative lid suddenly seemed inadequate, no match for the reality of daily life. As I opened the bin to empty it, I realized how quickly the used products, pads, liners, sometimes adult underwear, could add up, especially when I was having a busy week or the weather kept me from taking the trash out regularly. Doctors and caregivers have an endless list of tips, but the ones that resonated most were from women who'd lived it themselves. One friend swore by using small, scented bags, the kind you can tie up tightly before tossing anything in the trash. Another recommended a separate trash can, one with a truly airtight lid, reserved just for incontinence products. Think of it as an act of self-care, she told me. You wouldn't leave yesterday's dinner scraps on the kitchen counter. Why treat yourself with any less respect? It was a perspective shift I needed. Instead of viewing the disposal process as an embarrassment, I began to see it as a part of my daily routine, a small act of kindness for myself and for anyone who shared my home. I picked up a box of discreet, lightly scented disposal bags and a new bin with a tight-fitting lid. Each morning, after my shower and cup of coffee, I'd make it a habit to check and empty the bin if needed. No more waiting until the weekend. No more letting little worries pile up until they became something bigger. The difference was immediate and profound. My bathroom smelled cleaner, fresh, almost as if the air itself had been scrubbed. I found myself less anxious about having company over, no longer dreading the possibility that someone might notice a smell I'd become blind to. Even my grandchildren, who have the honesty of youth and never hesitate to point out anything stinky, stopped wrinkling their noses when they washed their hands or brushed their teeth. It wasn't just about odor, though. This small shift brought back a sense of dignity I didn't realize I'd lost. There's a vulnerability in relying on incontinence products, no matter how common or medically necessary they are. Every step you can take to make the process easier, cleaner, and more private is a step toward reclaiming your self-respect. I even noticed my mood lifting as the days went by. It's amazing how something as simple as a fresh-smelling bathroom can brighten your spirit. As time went on, I began to talk more openly about it with my friends. It turns out that many of them had struggled with the same thing, worried about guests, ashamed to ask for advice, resigned to just living with it. We traded tips, laughed at our learning curves, and celebrated our small victories. Some of us found creative solutions, like keeping a roll of small plastic bags in our purses for travel or asking family members to help take out the bathroom trash on cleaning day. We discovered together that there's power in community and wisdom in sharing. If there's one thing I wish I'd known sooner, it's that you don't have to settle for less than comfort and cleanliness. You deserve a bathroom that feels like a sanctuary, not a source of stress. If you or someone you love uses incontinence products, take a few extra minutes to create a disposal routine that works for you. Something discreet, effective, and gentle on your sense of self. Maybe it's a new bin with a tight lid, or a stash of scented bags you can tie up quickly and easily. Maybe it's a daily habit of emptying the trash, paired with a spritz of your favorite cleaning spray. Whatever it is, know that you're not alone and that every step you take is an act of quiet courage. Aging isn't always graceful, but it can be dignified. It can be full of small choices that add up to big comfort. And in the end, that's what matters. Not perfection, but peace. So, here's to the little routines that keep our homes fresh, our hearts lighter, and our spirits high. Because you deserve nothing less. 6. Overlooking the wall behind the toilet. There are corners of our homes we rarely think about, places we pass by daily but hardly ever see. For the longest time, the wall behind my toilet was just such a place. In my mind, cleaning the bathroom meant the basics. The sink, the mirror, the floor, and the toilet itself. I took comfort in my routine, wiping down surfaces, shaking out rugs, and making sure everything sparkled before I closed the door. Yet sometimes, despite my best efforts, a faint stale smell seemed to linger in the air, one that no candle or spray could truly erase. It wasn't until last winter that I finally discovered the true culprit. It started on a quiet morning while my husband was reading the paper, and I decided to give the bathroom a deep clean, the kind of thorough job I'd always prided myself on when my children were young. I knelt to check for dust behind the toilet and, on a whim, leaned in closer. That's when I noticed a faint yellow stain and tiny splatters on the wall, barely visible in the soft light. My heart sank a little, realizing just how long I'd overlooked this hidden spot. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. I remembered, almost with a laugh, all the years spent living with boys, my sons and later grandsons, trooping in and out of that bathroom. Even the best aim can be missed sometimes, especially when you're small and in a hurry, or older and less steady on your feet. Those splashes, tiny, innocent, unnoticed, had built up over the years, drying quietly where no one thought to look. The wall behind the toilet had become an invisible sponge, holding on to those reminders of family life and releasing them as a persistent odor long after the source was gone. At first, I felt embarrassed, but then, as I set to work with a bucket of warm water, vinegar, and a soft cloth, the feeling shifted to determination. There was a sense of reclaiming control, of making peace with the reality that even the most loving home has its hidden messes. I gently wiped the wall, surprised at how much came away on the cloth. It was oddly satisfying, as if I were erasing years of small accidents and giving the room a chance to breathe again. The difference was almost immediate. The air felt lighter, fresher, as though a window had been opened for the first time in years. I realized then how important it is to look beyond the obvious, to pay attention to the quiet places that hold our stories, good, bad, and everything in between. For so many of us, keeping a home means juggling dozens of details, some that are visible to the world and others that exist only in the quiet spaces where we live our real lives. Since that day, I've made it a habit to wipe down the wall behind the toilet once a week. It doesn't take long, just a quick spray of vinegar and water or a gentle disinfectant, a few swipes with a microfiber cloth, and the job is done. Sometimes I ask my husband to help if my back is sore, and we laugh about how age has made us both more aware of the details we once ignored. There's no shame in asking for help, no pride lost in admitting that some tasks require teamwork. Over time, this little ritual has become more than just a cleaning chore. It's a quiet act of care, a way of saying to myself and to those I love that even the unseen parts of our lives matter. When my daughter visits, she often comments on how fresh the bathroom smells, and I smile, knowing that the secret isn't a fancy candle or expensive spray, but the simple attention paid to a forgotten corner. I've shared this lesson with my friends over coffee, and we've all laughed at how many years it took us to discover the obvious. One friend, always quick with a joke, confessed that her bathroom wall had more stories to tell than she cared to admit. Proof that we're all learning, even as we grow older. We swapped tips for making cleaning easier, long-handled dusters, lightweight spray bottles, and even playing music to make the task feel less like work and more like a small celebration. As we age, there's a quiet wisdom in embracing these lessons. Our homes, much like our lives, are shaped as much by what we choose to see as by what we overlook. The wall behind the toilet may seem insignificant, but caring for it is a way of caring for ourselves, of saying, I am worthy of comfort, freshness, and pride, even in the smallest spaces. So, if you find yourself frustrated by a bathroom that just won't smell as clean as it looks, take a moment to peek behind the toilet. There's no need for embarrassment or self-criticism, only the gentle reminder that every home, and every person, has places that need a little extra attention. With each swipe of the cloth, you're not just erasing stains. You're writing a new story of self-respect and hope. Let the act of cleaning, even something as humble as a bathroom wall, be a celebration of all you've learned and all the love you've poured into your home. And when the air feels fresher, when you walk in and breathe deeply without worry, know that you've given yourself a quiet, precious gift. The peace of mind that comes from tending to even the smallest details of your life. You deserve nothing less. Looking back on all the little lessons I've gathered over the years, I realize how much wisdom comes not from perfection, but from paying attention to life's quiet details. It's easy to feel overwhelmed or even embarrassed by problems like stubborn bathroom odors or the invisible corners we forget to clean. But what I hope you've seen here is that there's power, and even a certain grace, in simply noticing, in being willing to change long-held habits, and in treating yourself and your home with gentle, ongoing care. Maybe you recognized yourself in one of these stories, or perhaps you even chuckled at memories of your own family's bathroom adventures. If so, take heart, you're not alone. Every woman I know, no matter how experienced, has faced her own set of housekeeping mysteries and small frustrations. The truth is, these moments connect us, reminding us that even as we age, we can still discover new solutions and enjoy fresh starts. As you head into your day, I encourage you to hold on to this sense of curiosity and kindness. Your home is a reflection of all the love you've given, and you deserve a space that brings you peace, comfort, and pride. If any of these tips made a difference to you, or if you have your own story to share, I hope you'll reach out. Together, we can make every corner of our lives shine a little brighter. You truly deserve it.